Hey, welcome to your Scorpio horoscopes for the week of December 3rd through the 9th. We have Venus coming into Scorpio this week. We are also moving into the shadow period of our last Mercury retrograde of the year. That's right. We have one more to contend with this year. And we move into the shadow period of that retrograde on Wednesday, the 6th. That's 7 days before the retrograde actually starts on the 13th next week. So things do tend to get a little bit crazy even during the shadow periods. In some cases, with some retrogrades, I have noticed that the shadow periods actually were more difficult than the actual retrograde. Some cases, that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes they're not difficult at all. It really just depends on the situation and what your lesson is for that particular retrograde. Lessons are not pleasant, they're not fun, but they are necessary for our growth. So we have to deal with them. And it really doesn't matter if we want to or not. We have to. And they're going to come up whether we want to deal with it or not. So we do have Venus moving into Scorpio and the moon coming into Scorpio as well about midweek, moving into conjunction with Venus, which is in a T-square with Jupiter as well as Pluto. So a couple of things here about that as we move into having another planet in Scorpio that's creating another challenge, because there's a lot of planets in other fixed signs that don't move very far and they don't move very fast. We have Pluto, which is basically almost stagnant most of the time, and that's not quite in Aquarius, which is another fixed sign, but it's on the cusp. It's close enough. And then we have Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, another fixed sign, and your opposite sign. So anytime we have planets coming into Scorpio, it is going to line up unfavorably with these planets, as we know from all the planets that have come before it. But basically, Venus in a T-square with Pluto as well as Uranus, amplified by the moon right at the end of the week on Saturday. Focus is on finances. Venus and the moon focusing their energy on finances. Jupiter is retrograde, focused on the past, while Pluto is focused on your support system and whether you have one or not. Now, I feel like a couple of things are actually coming up with this. One, this money situation that you're dealing with is an old story, and it's a story that you've probably read a dozen million times, and you're sick and tired of reading this book. It would be so nice to change it to a book where you're a little bit more financially productive, right? Well, that is all on you, unfortunately. And this is where Jupiter really comes into play here, because Jupiter is focused on the past. It's retrograde. Jupiter is all about growth and expansion. Retrograding, that means there is no growth or expansion. So, and then your support system isn't really being supportive at all. So this feels like one of those situations where I think a lot of married couples actually have this problem, where one is really focused on saving money or utilizing the finances that are coming in a productive way in some way, and your partner is just like, woohoo, I got money and it's burning a hole in my pocket, let me go spend half of it like immediately. I know, trust me, been in that situation more times than I would like to admit. But the problem here is, and what needs to be fixed, is that you keep assuming that this is going to change, and it doesn't. You even talk to your partner and say, hey, we need to do things differently financially. And they go, oh yeah, okay, I totally agree. And then as soon as the money comes in, boom, it burns a hole in and it's gone again, right? This is not a situation that can be fixed. Not by you, anyways. This is their problem. This is an issue for them. The fact that you keep relying on this person to do what is right and consistently being let down, that's the problem. That's what needs to be changed. Your reliability on this particular individual. Now, it's really difficult, especially this day and age, I think, because the relationships in terms of marriages has changed in a lot of ways. I mean, even in my lifetime, women gained more rights than they had before, even in my lifetime. And I'm only 46 years old. Believe it or not, it was the 70s before a lot of women actually got the right to hold property, the right over their own health, the right over a lot of different things, right? So we're not talking a really long time. The issue there is that in many cases, because we have these rights now, a lot of men have felt that women are trying to take back control because they're mad because men have had control of all of this time. Neither one of these scenarios is a healthy marriage or a healthy relationship, period. Both have to work together. And if they're not both working together, it is going to cause a problem. And this problem here is the biggest problem in all relationships is money. I'd say 85% of the fights within relationships are happening because of money. So there's a couple of things that you can do. One is stop doing the same thing and expecting different results because it's not going to happen. Two, we're looking at a grand sextile between Venus and the moon at the end of the week. Venus, Saturn, and Mercury. Mercury is focused on career. Saturn is focused on that inner closet. It's all about that muck, okay? All of the stuff that happened to you a long time ago that's still somehow controlling your actions today. And understanding that a lot of that control is fear. So, for instance, the person trying to get everything all sorted financially, working against somebody who is not trying to work with them at all. This is an opportunity for you to expand on what you can do. Is it time to look into another career? Is it time to look into more money-making opportunities? And when you're asking those questions, understand what comes up from the past that is causing you fear, and that a fear that is ultimately going to get in the way of you being able to achieve those goals. That is what our inner trauma does. It sits there and helps us come up with 1,000 excuses why we're stuck in a situation that we do not need to be stuck in, period. And being a fixed sign, it's really easy to fall into that quote unquote stuck behavior because we tend to take a really long time to make decisions that are good for us, right? So me being in this situation, in theory, hypothetically, if I was in this situation, and I have been, you get to a point where you start to realize, obviously, I'm fighting a losing battle. I need to fix this for me. If I want financial security, I can't rely on another person to provide it for me. I need to provide it for me. And that is what this challenge is trying to teach you. That is why this challenge is coming up in the first place. Because no matter how much hope we have, and no matter how many times we have the conversation, and no matter how many times we think that having that conversation has fixed the problem, it doesn't. It never does. It always goes back to the same way that it was before, because that person has to be willing to make the change. And if they're not, we can't force them to do it, even if you're married to them. Unfortunate, very, very annoying, but it is what it is. And it is amplified a lot as the moon comes into play into that on Saturday. We also have Pallas Athene focused on finances as well in Scorpio. And this is the warrior goddess here. So we're talking about fighting for what you want. And we're not talking about fighting a losing battle here, okay? We're not talking about having the same fight you've had numerous thousands of times, because nothing has ever changed. We need to pick a new battle, a battle that is productive, a battle that's going to get us somewhere, a battle that's actually going to make a difference in our lives. Think about this, ladies. I'm not saying that men don't go through this, but think about this, ladies, okay? Of all the things that we have been through throughout history, that we just got all of the rights to do everything that we want to do. The glass ceiling has been broken. Yes, there's still issues there. The point is, we don't live in a society where we can't fix these financial problems ourselves any longer. It is up to us to step into that power. I know a lot of ladies who are financially free of a man, period. These are the ladies that we want to strive to be. These are the ladies that we want to look up to and say, I want to be like that one, because that one isn't worried about getting her bills paid or not. She makes her own money. She pays her own bills. And everything else is gravy. And it takes a lot of the heat off of the relationship also, because now you're not having to have that argument over money anymore, because you got it handled. Not to say that you're excusing behavior or anything, but it does. That's a whole different argument. Okay. Just put it, that's a whole different argument. So that's what I have for you guys this week. If you love your horoscopes, do consider sending me a tip or donation through my coffee link, which is down here in the description of the video. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate all the support. You guys are simply amazing, and I love you to pieces. I'm Melissa Bruce, Heavy Metal Psychic. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. And in the meantime, you guys, it's time to take that power over your financial freedom. It is time. Yes, it's scary, but just do it, because think about it. How many times have you done stuff that's scary and it worked out okay? Right? This is going to work out okay too. And it's going to be, it's a whole different world for you, really. And it's a much more productive world for sure. I'll see you guys next week. You guys make it a great week.